All right. Hello, and welcome to the RSG podcast. This is just a quick card review for the new set. If you don't know, the new expansion set for Hearthstone was just announced. Whispers of the Old Gods.
Yes, Whispers of the Old Gods.
Which we'll talk more about some of the details of the expansion itself. Not so much the card detail in the podcast itself. So this is just going to be a short video going over the 7 cards we know about so far. And just what we think about them, whether or not they're any good.
And that includes the one released today during the championships, right?
Yes, yeah, includes. And there's going to be another one tomorrow, but we'll put that in with the next video.
Right.
So yeah, let's go ahead and just get straight to it then. Okay, so the first card we're going to look at is going to be the Polluted Hoarder, which is modeled after the Loot Hoarder.
Yeah.
But it's the polluted version.
Which makes him more offensive and less good.
Yeah, more offensive, less good. There's a lot of problems with this card. So let's look at the stat line first. 4 mana, 4/2. That is really awful.
Yeah.
That is really, really terrible.
Well, 2 just dies to too many things. Too many things.
It dies to a number of 1-drops.
Yep.
And most of the 2-drops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a number of 3-drops. Most of the 3-drops as well.
But are people going to be desperate enough for that Death Rattle cycle card draw to play it anyway?
Not for this card, no. No way. Like, Loot Hoarder is still a classic card. It's in the base set. People will just play Loot Hoarder. Like, if you're going to play a card for the cycle, you're going to play something that's cheaper, that you can get out easier,
right.
That you don't mind sacrificing. You know, but paying 4 mana for a card that dies to a 2-drop, especially another Loot Hoarder.
Right, yeah.
You know, I mean, literally, who has the better end of the deal when this trades with a regular Loot Hoarder?
They do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just not... It's not a great card. I like the artwork. I think the artwork is cool. And, you know, it's appropriately old gaudy, and the gold animation's pretty neat. Opening of the box there.
Yeah, but he doesn't look polluted to me. He just looks crazy.
He's polluted with Cthulhu power. Shut up.
All right.
I don't know.
With Cthulhu power?
Cthulhu power. Sorry, Cthulhu power.
Jesus.
I apologize. But, yeah, so...
Yeah, I don't think he looked good. I don't think he'll get played a lot. I don't think... Not even in limited do I think he'll get taken very often.
No. I don't... You know, he'll never get picked in arena. He's just not good.
Yeah.
He's not good. This is a bad card. But, I mean, it is a common neutral, so I expect it to be bad, but, I mean, this is much worse.
Well, yeah, this is a lot worse than it needs to be.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know.
But, anyways, all right. I mean, I would just assume
3/3.
Play the 2/4 for 4 that draws me a card on Battlecry.
Right.
It's just better. If this was a 2/4, I'd play it.
Oh, absolutely.
If it was a 2/4, I would play. I wouldn't play it like obviously in a.
Well, the thing is the way
constructed, but I would pick it occasionally in a limited format or an arena.
Yeah. Well, because the way trading works out, it's better to have more health than more attack.
In most cases, yeah.
Because that's just the way trading works in this game. You know, so.
Yeah,
just the way it is. I don't know. And so cards with high health without charge are pretty much frowned upon for the most part.
And for
with higher attack and lower health. So.
All right, the next one we're going to look at is another reimagined, because there's a number. It looks like there's going to be a lot of the classic cards that are, or cards from different sets that previously that are reimagined. This is another one. It's the Corrupted Healbot. It's has a good stat line. 6/6 for 5 mana is solid.
Mm-hmm.
It's Death Rattle. Restore 8 health to the enemy hero. That's a little much. It's a little much. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It does. I mean, it does get around BGH. Although, from what I understand, BGH is going to be nerfed. So I'm not sure how much of an argument that is right this second.
Right. Well, but it's still susceptible to a lot of other hard removal that also becomes then a heal for your opponent.
Yeah.
And at 5 cost, it's not really cheap.
No, it's definitely not cheap.
To outweigh that fact, like if this was 4 for a 6/6, that's rattle restore 8 health to your opponent. I think it'd be a lot better card. If it was 3, it'd be a really good card. But at 5, I don't think you can get it out soon enough.
I think at 4 it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
At 5, it's just a
Well,
little
at 4,
bit too
I would play it in a
expensive.
Druid deck for sure.
Oh yeah,
Because you could ramp it out and
Turn 2?
like early on.
turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy. Or turn 1 if you have coin and innervate in your
Yeah.
hand.
And it being a mech isn't even going to help you out for the most part, because a lot of the mech stuff, oriented stuff, is going away with GPG.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like in standard play now, or what will become standard play.
I mean, the only reason, first of all, it's a big enough creature that it's probably going to get killed fairly quickly once you get out on the board. People aren't going to want to leave it there.
Right.
Number 1, it heals them, and number 2, it's a big enough body that they're going to want to kill it.
Yeah.
So the only synergy I can think of would be a Akanai Soul Priest set up where you have this on the board already. Akanai trade in for something, lose your Corrupted Heal Bot, and deal 8 damage to them, but it has to stay on the board for at least a turn.
Right, for that to be feasible.
Right,
Yeah, or your Akanai Soul Priest has to stay on the board for at least a turn.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it has to get an attack, so.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know. It's not very impressive.
I could see it being in an interesting Shadow Priest deck of that nature, right? Because Akanai Soul Priest is what, 4?
Yeah, it is 4. But the big difference between the reason why it works so well with Zombie Chow is because Zombie Chow it's a low priority creature.
Right. Yeah, it's not very threatening.
It's very small.
Yeah.
And you can kill it for 5 life later. Mm-hmm. So you can easily play that card and leave it. It might stick on the board.
Yeah.
It might stick on the board because they're going to prioritize other targets. Or they're just going to leave it alone because they don't get a heal out right the second, and it's maybe they're waiting. So it works with Zombie Chow. I don't see it working so much with Corrupted Healbot. I think it's too expensive to pull that combo off as a general rule. Yeah, I don't like it.
No, we'll see where it ends up at.
Again, the artwork is nice. I think he has sweet needle guns.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, let's go on to the next one. This is the last of the kind of reimagined cards, and it's the Validated Doomsayer.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting card.
He's looking smug.
He's looking quite smug. I think this is an interesting card. I don't think it's a good card. I think it's an interesting card. Though I'm sure people will experiment with it, and maybe there's something, in the rest of the set that might come out that makes this good. I rather doubt it, but maybe there's some synergy in the future. But Validated Doomsayer, 5 mana, 0/7. At the start of your turn, set this minion's attack to 7. So I guess let's start on with the cons.
It's a 0/7 for 5 to start with.
Yeah.
And it gives you no immediate effect and no effect on death. So cons are it sucks.
Yeah, when you first play it, it's terrible. People can trade into it for free.
Mm-hmm.
People can silence it.
Yep.
Probably the worst situation. People can, what is that? Cabal Shadow Priest it.
Right.
I mean, it's a 5 mana card, so you can generally get this out if, a turn before Cabal Shadow Priest can be played. Unless you're going second and have already used the coin.
Right.
But
I just don't see it being feasibly used.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The fact that it can be traded unless you have it on curve or earlier because of coin or innervate or something like that, it's not great.
Also, thematically, it seems retarded. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Doomsayer comes out, and thematically it makes sense, right? Like, oh, soon everyone's going to die. Then at the already next turn, everybody dies.
Right.
So Doomsayer's already validated. Right? Like, unless you kill him, he's going to kill everyone at the beginning of the next turn,
right.
and he'll be correct.
Right.
So, validated Doomsayer, not doing any of that, just seems lame.
Yeah, I mean...
And it has there's no, like... Sure, you can make it a 7/7 on turn 6 that you can attack with. That could be shiny, but...
I'm not a big fan.
I don't see it being great, you know?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I could see this really only in one deck currently. Now, obviously, as with every expansion or every adventure, that's tough to say because we don't know what the rest of the cards are. So there might be other decks, new decks, that might make use of this guy. But specifically, I'm talking about Druid, because Druid can get this bad boy out fairly commonly on turn 3.
Right.
That's
No, that's
7/7
threat.
on turn 4 is
It's a serious threat.
it's a serious threat. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I see that being okay in that situation. However, if you think about it,
It's still
Druid already
easily
has something
moved.
like that.
Yeah.
If you do a beast synergy setup, and that card doesn't ever get used. The Druid of the Fang, or Druid of the Fang,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The snake one.
the snake one.
Yeah.
Like it never sees play. You know, so you need less combo pieces for this one, in the sense that you don't have to have a beast already on board.
Yeah, but he's also useless in it as initially or whatever. Also initially useless until the beginning of your next turn.
And by turn 3, depending on what you're playing against, they could easily have out like a 3/2 and a 2/1.
Yeah.
Like at this point already, especially if you haven't taken care of anything else. If that's the case, then suddenly your 7/7 next turn is only a 7/4.
Yeah.
You know, and 7/4, is that a playable card? No, we have a 7/4 card in Salty Dog,
Yeah.
and that never sees play. So I don't know. I'm not. I think it's an interesting card though, because of some of the upsides.
The upside is it's hard for paladins to fuck you over.
Yeah. Because it's at the start of your turn, set this minion's attack to 7, which means at the start of every single turn,
It's going to be 7.
it's going to be 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Aldor Peacekeeper can't screw it over.
Mm-hmm.
Neither can the other Paladin card, the...
It's not humility, right? Humility does health.
Humility.
It's the other one.
Yeah, Humility.
Well, I thought humility did health.
No, Humility is the 1-mana Paladin card that does attack.
And then the...
Equality is the one that does health.
Yeah, you're okay, right. And then the... Yeah, what's his name? The legendary guy does it too, right?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember his name, though, off the top of my head.
It's not Forgery, it's the other one.
Yeah, it's not Fordring. It is the other one.
Yeah.
But the other small bonus to him is that he can't be BGH'd the turn he comes out.
No, the turn he comes out, but the turn after that he can. So you can at least get a chance to attack with him before he can be BGH'd.
However, it's really should be noted that this might be a completely moot point to make, because BGH is being looked at to be nerfed before
Right.
the expansion comes out. So when this guy becomes playable, BGH isn't going to be the same.
Right.
So...
Well, BGH is one of those cards that you can draw some, and sometimes it's going to be useless because everybody's scared of BGH, getting rid of their one dude. So they don't like to play people who have such high attack because they're afraid that BGH is going to kill it. So lots of times BGH is useless, I think.
Well, I mean...
But they play it as a threat to counter your threat that you may or may not have.
Yeah, BGH a lot of times I'm not gonna say he's useless necessarily, because part of the usefulness of BGH is even if you have no target for him, he's still a body you can tempo play out, which is like not great. Obviously.
Yeah, but he's got a shitty 4/2 body.
Yeah, but it's only 3 mana as opposed to friggin' 4.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
It's still a shitty body.
It is a shitty body, but you're looking to trade up with it, so
Yeah.
you know.
This is true, because most of the time you're going to save your BGH till later in the game anyway.
Yeah.
I'm looking to cash in that 4 against somebody else who has a low health.
Right. And, I mean, there's still enough, like, 7+ power minions that see play that he's still included in a lot of decks. In every deck, he's not an auto-include anymore like he used to be.
Right.
But you still see him in a lot of decks.
I pretty much don't include him in any of my decks, but I consider him to be less useful on average than other cards I could put in. Also, I'm not a good player, so that should be
that should be taken into account.
But I also don't play like truly competitively, where I'd be like, oh, if I don't have this BGH, I might get fucked. I'd be like, well, the one time that not having BGH fucks me, I don't really care.
Right.
You know.
I mean, he's generally put in to get rid of cards like Dr. Boom or you know, cards that have been
Dr.
buffed
Boom's
beyond
damage is
7.
already pretty much done when he enters the battlefield.
Well, and that's really what it's
You
come
know?
down to. This is sort of the arms race that BGH has sort of created, though, for like cards that have 7+ attack. Is that if they don't do something when they hit the board,
Yeah.
then they're not played. And even some of those aren't played, like Rag. You know, Rag does something before you can BGH him, but he doesn't see much play anymore. He used to see a lot of play, but not so much anymore. But anyway, so yeah, the other upside to this validated Doomsayer, getting back on topic, is that, and this is cute. This isn't when I say good, it's not really good. It's just something you can do that's cute. Is that you can heal him fairly easily with Crazed Alchemist or Confuse.
True. This is true.
Which is kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
But that's about it. That's really not a good thing. It's not good. It's certainly not good enough a trick to play him.
Yeah,
I don't think. Not. But all right, let's get into some of the non-reworked old cards. I hesitate to say reworked. I'm going to say
reimagined
is yeah. But so the first one we'll look at here is the Twilight Elder, which I like this card a lot. First of all, it has a really solid stat line.
Yeah, 3 for 3 4 is really good.
Which is important to remember for the future when we get into like what this card actually does and how it interacts with Cthulhu. As you can see, it reads, at the end of turn, give your Cthulhu +1/+1 wherever it is. So there's a couple important things here. The first thing is your Cthulhu, not anyone else's Cthulhu, and wherever it is. So, good.
What if someone has mind-controlled my Cthulhu?
That is an excellent question. If somebody mind controls your Cthulhu...
Is it now their Cthulhu?
I think it's their Cthulhu now, yeah. So I don't think these cards are going to buff that Cthulhu anymore. Like if I play Twilight Elder and then you mind control my Cthulhu, my Twilight Elder will not buff your Cthulhu. I put money on that one, actually. You got to say something.
That's
there.
Bullshit use of their mechanics. They have a perfectly valid way because everything is digital to make that the way it plays or whatever. To make to give you something like that to make playing that York Cthulhu a more possibly punishing sort of thing. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
Why would they do that?
Something that would be interesting to see.
I don't think
they have the ability to do here in an all-digital world.
I don't think that's a good design.
Anywhere else.
I don't think that's good design at all. I think they're doing it on purpose that if you steal my Cthulhu, now you're the controller. It works the same way in Magic for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Magic distinguishes between owner and controller.
Yeah, true enough. Magic's a more complicated game. But I don't think it's not your Cthulhu anymore if it gets stolen.
That's fair enough.
Why do you think this is a good idea? That is terrible. That's a terrible idea. What you're talking about is terrible.
Because I think it adds in a new wrinkle that you can play against Cthulhu.
It's not a wrinkle. It's fucking terrible. That is a terrible idea. That is an awful idea, Roby. Shut your mouth. That is terrible. Yeah, that's just not good, man.
No, it would be interesting. It would add something interesting to the game.
No, it wouldn't. It would just... No, it wouldn't.
I think it would.
No, it would just be frustrating. There would be nothing. First of all, if Cthulhu decks end up being, well, let's talk more about this before, because people might not understand what we're going into here. But yeah, so this card buffs another card that you can put in your deck. Obviously, Cthulhu, it's a legendary creature, which we'll look at here in a second. But this card, at the end of your turn, buffs your Cthulhu for +1/+1.
Yeah, wherever he's at.
Yeah, wherever he's at. So it could be in your hand, could be on the board, could be in your deck. Buffs your Cthulhu for +1/+1.
Yeah.
So this is the first sort of card, other than, I shouldn't say the first. This is the first time this game is focused on cards that can be buffed within your deck.
Right. They did it some in the last expansion as well.
Only with really Mistcaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was about it. But you're seeing a lot more of that in this particular...
Which I think is what they stole from other online card games.
Yeah, Hex specifically.
Yeah.
Does that a lot. So I like this card for two big reasons. Number one, and we'll focus more on the Cthulhu deck and what a Cthulhu deck may or may not be in the future in a minute, but because the stat line for it convinces me that they want these decks to be decent. The stat line 3/3/4 is great stats. It's great stats for a 3-drop. So now I'm convinced that maybe they actually want people to try out and play a Cthulhu deck.
Yeah, but but at the same time, by doing that, they're keeping it that basically they're still playing the same game. You know what I mean? Like instead of like getting a new and imaginative deck where like we have small creatures, but they all build up to this one big creature and that's how I win or whatever. It seems more of like we're still having to worry about having an excellent body all the time or whatever.
We have that. We have small creatures go into being a big creature sort of setup, and those don't work in this game.
Yeah, I know they don't, and they're not trying to make it work in this game either.
It's never going to work in this. I mean, board control is too important. Like creature removal, it's not what this game's about. Like, it's what you're wanting or talking about? Is it just not how this game works?
Well, I know it's not how this game works now, but it could be how this game works if they made changes.
I don't know.
But now you're looking
I think this game should just focus on being this game and not trying to be Magic or Hex or anything else.
Or anything else, right?
You know, I'm fine with it. I'm fine. I'm like.
We're the one complaining about it being the same boring stuff, and that's what you have here. It's the same, like, because if this guy was a 1/3, would you play him?
It depends on the rest of the Cthulhu stuff. I don't know for positive, but at this point,
what if he was a 3/3 or a 3/2?
Again, it depends on the rest of the Cthulhu stuff. Like, I might still play him because the stat bonus he gives might be worth it. I don't know for certain.
Okay.
I can't answer that.
Okay. Let's look at the Cthulhu card.
I can't answer that.
Let's look at the Cthulhu card.
Well, let's look at the other one real quick. It's not very difficult. It's Beckoner of Evil, 2 mana, 2/3, decent stats, you know. And you know, before we go on about stats, that's still something that just about every other game looks at for creatures. Like, are their stats good? That is not.
I understand that.
That is
but the thing they've never done is make any of their abilities worth having shitty stats on your creatures for the most part.
Yes, they have. And there's another example that we'll look at them right after this card. As a matter of fact,
let's look at it right after this card.
But Beckoner of Evil, Battlecry, give your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is.
Yeah.
Fairly simple, straightforward. Buffs your Cthulhu wherever it is for +2/+2.
Yeah.
When it comes into play. So let's look at the card now, shall we? It's Cthulhu himself. His stats suck.
He's a giant eyeball. 10 for a 6/6. Yes.
His stats are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But his battle cry is sick nasty.
Yes.
Deal damage equal to this minion's attack, randomly split among all enemies. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. So here you have a minion who's not great stats, but his battle cry is absolutely worth it. That's because you buff his stats through other minions who have to have decent stats, or you're going to lose out so quickly that you're never going to get to your Cthulhu turn.
All right.
See how that works? See how that works? See how it works? Because it looks like you're going to have to build decks around Cthulhu, so you're going to have to put a lot of Cthulhu-type cards in there.
Right.
Which means that if you're not going to have a ton of room for removal, you're not going to have a ton of room for, like... You can literally, from what they've said, there's 16 cards that interact with Cthulhu in some way. Which means that there are literally more cards that you can make a Cthulhu deck with than you actually have room for.
Right.
At two per card.
Yeah.
Assuming that, the other 14 cards aren't legendaries.
Yeah. Well, I'm more likely to play the 3-drop than I am the 2-drop in that case.
I would still play the 2-drop for a number of reasons. I think the big reason to play the 2-drop in this particular situation is, number one, it's guaranteed stat buffs. You guarantee to get 2 out of it.
Right.
That's one reason why you could play it. I think the other reason why you could play it, and more to the point, is that because it's a battle cry, you can brand and get +4, which is pretty substantial. There's a number of people already theorizing about rogue decks where you brand this card, Shadow Step, or I'm sorry, brand Beckoner of Evil, Shadow Step, Beckoner of Evil, replay Beckoner of Evil. So it's +8/+8 right there. And then you just return brand back to your hand then. So you can, later on down the line,
right,
you can, because if you Shadow Step brand, he's free after that. So you Shadow Step brand, and then when it's Cthulhu turn, you play brand for free,
and then
Cthulhu for a ton of
damage theoretically. Yeah.
A ton of damage. So It's pretty cool stuff. I don't know. I think this card's really awesome.
Yeah. It's really good.
You don't like it? Or you do like it?
I do like it.
You do like it?
It's good. But again, it's just one card. And when you base your whole deck around drawing one card,
it's rough. Well, again,
because in order to get to that one, you're going to have to be able to put in a bunch of extra draw, right? Or something that will, like, unless there's something that can, like, speed up how you get to Cthulhu. You know what I mean? Like, because that's one thing that they have never done that they could do, right? Introduce a, like, demonic tutor type effect, where you pick a card out of your deck and put it on top and draw that card next.
Yeah.
Or where you go fishing for a particular card or a particular type of card.
I would like to see some more mechanics that involve like the actual deck and manipulating your deck. There's woefully little of that.
Right.
You know.
And it's something that can be easily done because, again, it's all digital, so sorting through the list is easy to do. And it's quick, and you don't have to reshuffle because it automatically reshuffle and all that nonsense.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not going to say it's quick. I have no idea what goes into the programming for the game, but I am going to say that it's like it's something they could do.
It could be quick on our side, as far as as far as front facing goes.
Yeah, yeah.
For us, it would be an easy, quick thing to do, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I get to pick a random mech I get to pick a random, whatever out of my deck, and put them into play. Then, or I get to pick a mech rather than putting a random card to play. I get to pick one and put into play. You could easily show us all the one cost minions or whatever. We pick one and put it into play.
There's also, but we also don't know what the other cultists are. There are some thought processes that some of the
cultists are, but we don't know what anything else is at this moment.
Right, some of the thought processes that there are other occultists that will allow you to just draw your Cthulhu, like as a death rattle or something like that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like if they did something like that, then that would make sense.
Right.
Right.
I think it's gonna. I mean, I'm really interested to see what the other cultists do. And
see, I would much rather see Validated Doomsayer do that.
Oh yeah, just bring Cthulhu.
Validated Doomsayer says put an Elder God from your deck onto the board.
Or into your hand.
Or
something like that.
Yeah, just whatever. At the end of turn, like it said, like at the beginning of your next turn, put an Elder God onto the board in your hand.
Yeah, I would be.
Mean?
And
as
you know what? I like this. I like this as a 5-mana card too, because at least Cthulhu. I don't know about the other old gods, but Cthulhu is expensive. He's 10.
Yeah.
So if you're doing this on 5, you're losing a lot of tempo to do this, but to guarantee what you're doing next turn.
Yeah.
So it's a good balanced play. I would completely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it'd be I think that'd be a much better use of Validated Doomsayer than what they've done, because I think Validated Doomsayer is a garbage card now. It's going to be a card that everyone could look at and say, because people will play around with it for a while, wanting it to have potential, and it won't.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. But I think Cthulhu itself is a really cool card. And I'm interested to see what some of the other interactions the cultists do. Maybe it gives the card different effects.
Real popular in Rogue too. Because being able to pick them up and put them down again, is going to be really nice. And Rogue does that the best.
I could also see it being very popular in Priest as well.
Yeah.
Not so much because you're picking things up and putting things down, but because the ability to just keep your creatures alive, so it builds up.
Right, so it builds up better.
Your counter's a little bit better, things like that.
Agreed.
You can buff them, keep them alive a little bit more.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I don't know. I'm excited, though. We do know that there are going to be other old gods. We don't know. We know, I think Inzoth is going to be one. We believe Yogg-Saron's going to be one. And I can't remember what the last one is.
Yogg-Saron makes sense.
Yeah. Those are the only 3 I know of off the top of my head. Inzoth, Yogg-Saron, Cthulhu. Have we fought any others in WoW that you can think of? I think that's it, right?
As far as I know, really. I'm not even entirely sure who Inzog is.
Inzoth?
Inzoth.
He's one of the old gods that's not actually in the WoW game, but I believe he's the one who made Deathwing or something like that. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyhow, so yeah, we don't know what the others do. We don't know if the others are going to have cultists too. This was an assumption on my part, but after going back through and reading, there's nothing that says that.
Right.
Probably the coolest thing about Cthulhu is that we get them for free if you log in during the promotional period.
Right.
So that's cool. But all right, let's look at the last card here, which I'm not hype about really at all. Made me a little sad.
Wait, did we look at all the other ones?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yep. Stand Against Darkness. So it's well known that when this expansion hits, that we're losing Muster for Battle because it was in the GVG set, and it rotates out.
Yep.
And we lose Muster for Battle, and so this looks like a pseudo replacement.
Yeah.
Summon 5/1/1 Silverhand Recruits. This is boring.
Yeah, and it's also not good.
It's not great. I mean, it has some okayish plays. The only play I can think of that makes this decent as an 8-mana combo is Sword of Justice in this card.
Sword of Justice in this card would be pretty good.
8 mana, 5/2/2s.
Yeah. Now you've gotten your value out.
Yeah. 5 mana, 5/1/1's not great.
No, it's not.
Just not great.
And I have to believe that at this point that they're going to put in some additional synergy for this card. Or they just put this in so they don't have to make other cards. But they should just start putting in just blank cards instead of giving shitty cards that no one's ever going to play. They should just make this card blank. This is a card that you weren't going to play anyway. So here it is.
I'm okay with them making kind of shitty cards that seems like no one's going to play them. And let me tell you why. Because Magic does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And not always, but sometimes down the line, some combo comes out in like Legacy or, in Modern that uses that card and it's insane.
Fair enough.
So...
Well, and in Limited, this card's not horrible, I don't think.
No, I don't think
in
so.
The arena or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's not horrible in the arena. It's not my first choice in the arena at 5, but
it depends on what it's up against, really.
Right.
Know? But I mean, here's a 10-mana combo.
Well, and adding these cards into the arena is going to make it real interesting, right? Because if I don't get a Cthulhu...
Well, no. They've already said that Cthulhu cards and Cthulhu cultists won't be in arena.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah, automatically they won't be in arena.
All right.
Which, because they said that, makes me believe that the other old gods probably won't have their own cultists, or the same number of them anyways.
Right. Because otherwise taking out like half the set.
Half the freaking set, right, yeah.
And then you're just drastically reducing the number of cards in the arena.
Right, so arena, the face
Which
of
would
arena...
make a lot of these other cards more powerful in that case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're facing a that's the one thing, like... now you're also facing a limited amount in arena, because you got to remember, there's no more GBG cards in the arena, right?
I believe...
Because the arena is going to be standard, or is it
I
going to be wild?
it's going to be standard. Yeah, it's going to be standard.
So this card gets a little more power because there's no other GBG cards. So it's only up against, a certain smaller set of cards now.
It's true.
So that's what makes Limited better anyway, is that it's nobody has pre-planned cards, and with the set being even smaller, it's going to be even more interesting, I think.
Here's a 10-mana combo for you. Knife Juggler, Muster, Stand Against Darkness. 8 juggles and a weapon, and a 3/2 on the board. It's actually not terrible.
That's not terrible.
It's not terrible for 10 mana.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible at all.
Because you got a 3/2 on the board, and you also have
8/1/1s.
8/1/1s.
And a weapon.
Well, 7/1/1s, right? You can only have 8 creatures on the board total.
You're right, 7/1/1s.
7/1/1s.
No. 6/1/1s. Because you also have... Yeah, because you have you have the Knife Juggler on board.
We can have 7 or 8 total.
7 total.
Yeah, so 6/1/1. So you waste half of Muster.
Never mind. Terrible combo.
Yep.
You're not getting 8 juggles out of that.
No, you're getting 6 juggles out of that.
Yeah, forget
at that point, you're paying 3 mana to get 1 damage and a weapon.
But, yeah. I don't know.
Which is technically more value because that weapon costs 3 mana anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
wait, the weapon is
the 1/4 Hammer of Justice.
It's a 1-mana weapon.
It's a 1-mana weapon.
It's a 1-mana
so
weapon.
you're not getting any value.
None.
No.
But anyway, so there's the long and short of it. Yeah, we don't. There's going to be another card tomorrow. We'll lump that in with next week's. We'll probably try to do this weekly up until the release in late April, early May of Whispers of the Gold Gods. And if you guys have any input or on this or anything else, feel free to leave us a comment, like, share, subscribe. Thanks a lot.